Hey peeps, Dee here. Welcome to my channel, welcome to my studio, and welcome to this tutorial. Now, this tutorial is actually a compilation of several tutorials making letters. All right, letters, here we go. With your letters, you can make words. Okay, so that's what this is. Now, it's a long one, and it's organized in an unusual fashion because that's the way I put them up on the site. It's not A through Z. I think this tutorial starts with B and D. But there are so many letters in the alphabet that are similar that it just doesn't make sense to deal with them each individually. For instance, not D. These two are a good example. These three are a good example. G, C, and Q. Very similar in construction. So there's a tutorial that features G, C, O, Q, U, and I think J in one tutorial. So that's the way it's organized, and that's the way you'll see it. I believe by the time you watch them all, you'll be able to make your very own alphabet, and that is the goal here. I use these words for quite a few things. Peace, I've been making some beads. Hope, beads. You know, so you get the picture. Love. All right, so I'm through with this introduction. I think it's time for us to start. Okay, so before we begin, there are a couple things that you should know. Okay, number one, I'm assuming that you'll probably want to make the letters the same size and the same scale. And when I talk about scale, I mean the thickness of the letters, okay? So it can be whatever you want. For me, all my letters when I begin are 1 inch tall. Now this is a 1-inch cutter, very handy thing to have. So all of my letters start at 1 inch tall. Number two, the line thickness, that scale thing we talked about. All my letters are rolled through pasta machine setting number 2, okay? The third thing is, and this is a little bit less important. No, it is important. Okay, let's talk about the area around the letter. Now, for me, whenever I trim away the excess off of a slab, I leave 1/4 inch on every side of the letter, okay? So it really is the same size when I reduce all of them. They all start out that way. Now, the thickness of the slab you make only determines how much letter you're going to end up with. Okay, so whether you start with a 5-high slab or a 7-high slab, it's not going to affect the actual letter. It just affects the amount of letter you have. Okay. Now, the only other thing I want to say is I want to thank Eileen Loring very much. She is the one who taught me basically how to do this. And she is no longer with us. She was a wonderful woman and just a wonderful resource, polymer clay techniques, and one of the most giving and kind people one would ever run across. She was great. So thank you, Eileen. There is one more thing. At the very end, there's a signature cane, R and N, because that's how this whole thing started. My friend Ray said, would you make me a signature cane? And I said, I would be happy to. So I did, and I shot it, and it is at the end of this tutorial because probably most of you will simply want to make your initials in clay, signature cane. And I believe that's it. So I think it's time to start. Let's make an alphabet. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is take this clay from my scrap bin. Yeah, canes that I didn't like. Thing is, these pieces were selected because there's not a ton of white in them, nor is there much metallic. Now this is copper metallic, but I think it's going to be fine. Gold has a tendency to make, you really see the gold flecking, but not so much with the copper. Anyway, so all of this is going to be mixed together, and then I am going to use blackout and make my black clay. I will be back. All right, so let's begin. Now I've rolled my black clay, this is my blackout black clay, through the thickest setting of my pasta machine, and now I have to sheet it. All right, so I put it down, and I really have to right here along the join, like so. And I am going to roll like this. Just remember, we have to get these sheets nicely joined. I want minimal air in there. Because remember, we're going to be reducing up this way, so each of the layers is really going to want to separate. That's why we have to make sure that they don't. All right. So let me just cut here, for instance, and just stack it up. And you know what? I think I'll just make it maybe 6 layers. Like so. And the letter thickness is setting 3. I've already rolled my white clay through that setting, so we're really set there. Okay. Now, all right. Now, let me just cut this in half. I know that the letter is going to be 1 inch tall. Remember that from the S? 1 inch tall. Okay. This is 6 thicknesses through this thickest setting of my pasta machine. Okay, do I want to make it 7? Maybe I'll make it a bit thicker. I am going to start with a D, and then we'll move to B. Okay, D is simpler. Okay, I'll be back. I'm just going to roll this and put one more layer on. All right, so I have my 2 slabs. These are now 7 thicknesses through the thickest setting of the pasta machine, and the actual thickness 3/4 of an inch. So what I'm going to do is take my ruler and just cut several strips 3/4 of an inch. This white clay has been rolled through setting 3. So there's 1 strip ready to be used. Let me cut another one. Okay. Like so, and it is ready. Should I do 3? No, you know what? I'm just gonna do 2. I only need 2. What I do, however, need, though, maybe, is also some black clay rolled through setting 3, which is the letter thickness. Do I need it for the D? As a matter of fact, I do not. Okay. So, let us start. I am going to place that on a little piece of deli paper. Now, let's locate the center, and that's where I'm going to try to make my 1 inch tall letter. The center of it anyway. I'm gonna try. I mean, there's plenty of area around, so I'm not really that concerned about it. As a matter of fact, I know there's going to be more on this side than this side. That's really okay. Okay, so the D There's the back of the D, this line, like so. Now I have to have, of course, a half round. Now that's when I pull out my various cutters, okay, just like this. Now if this one is a little big. Where's a smaller one? I know I have a smaller one, but like most things in my studio, it has wandered off. Now that 1 inch represents the total height of the letter. I believe it was 1 inch. Wasn't it 1 inch? You know what, folks? I'm going to do a quick check. I would rather be certain of that. I'll be back. Okay, so I was right. It's 1 inch, but you know, sometimes your brain and your eyes play tricks on you. And I thought, this is so tiny, 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 tiny. So now you got to look at your cutters. Now, I bought this set. I had been eyeballing this set for years, and I just kept forgetting to order it, but it's pretty interesting. It actually has D's in it. Now, if you didn't have the D's, what would you do? Well, you start looking at your round cutters, and maybe you have a set of oval cutters, and you try to find a cutter that will span your inch mark. Now, this will span it, but look at how narrow the D becomes. This guy is a bit too small. Right? Close, but very close, actually. And so I think that this smallest cutter in this set would work. The D might be just a touch smaller, but probably not noticeably so. So I think that this cutter would work. You can see where the ends are, like right there, just outside the cutter. But lucky me, I have this. It is perfect D. And when I put it right there, look, it just fits perfectly. I have a D. I like it, okay? All right, so having located my cutter, first thing I'm going to do, actually, I should probably not count on you having that cutter. So let's just go back to another cutter and pretend I don't have it. Okay, we're just gonna pretend I don't have that cutter because it's hardly fair if you don't have it. Okay, so the first thing, because what I would do, I just cut straight down. Okay, so I'm gonna take my Repel gel. This is Repel gel, and I'm just going to put some on the cutter itself. Just like that. See, I just stuck it on there. Now I'm going to locate where I want to cut, like so, and I am going to cut straight down through the clay, just like that. Okay, straight down. Now I'm going to lift the cutter, and you know, maybe the clay comes with it, maybe not. This time it didn't come with it. Set that aside. Now I'm going to cut right there along the back spine, and do your best to cut straight through, straight down. I know sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do. I frequently go off myself. Okay, so here we go. This is set aside. And now let's work on this guy. Whoop, wrong one. Use the right cutter. It looks like I didn't go all the way down through. Bad me. But when something's this thick, it's not always the easiest. So it's not terrible. I was able to do it like so. Now I'm going to gently get it out. All right, so now let me take and just kind of smooth this. See where I had to recut? It's not perfectly meeting anymore because it's been split. Not a huge issue, but you want to correct it. Definitely. You know, I've made a lot of D's in my life, but I don't make them that often, so. All right. Next, we're going to take this white and we are just going to wrap it around the curve. Just like so. Just like that. And then I hold the blade so it's perfectly perpendicular to the work surface. Just glide it along the back of that D and cut the excess away. Repeat on the other side. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to open this up slightly and kind of insert it back in the space, like so. Okay, and you want to check both sides too. Like that. Now you can see that this is now angled this way. Now we have a little bit of extra in the center, and then this is angled the other way. Okay. So I have a decision to make. Do I like the D this big? In other words, this part of the D. If I like it this big, then I have to fill this space and this space. If I don't mind cutting some of it off, I can just chop this excess area off and straighten this out. Okay? Now I'm going to chop it off just to show you how much I have to chop in order to do that. Now, filling it in is not a problem. You just take, you know, whatever clay you have and you just kind of carefully fit it in there and increase the volume where you need to, like that, right? So let's just chop first. Okay, now I can't really see, so I have to turn it over because, yeah, I can't really see what I'm doing. All right, so what I'm going to do first is just chop from here and here. See that? Just like that. And I will follow the line all the way down. And try. So first, let's just eliminate that excess. So now you see I've eliminated it. And you know what? I can even just coax this over a bit like so, right? Just like that. Just like that. Okay, and I think that that's fine. Now, the way I did that makes it just a tad more difficult to put the back on, because the back must fit right there at that corner, you see, just like that. And now on this side, which I can't see because I don't have Superman X-ray vision, I have to cut right there to right there. You see the line? Which is not terribly difficult because I will just go from this line to this line, cut and remove. Now that's a little bit of a problem there, isn't it? If that happens to you, then you're going to want to get your blade in there and you're going to want to remove any of that extra clay. So now I have pretty nice on this side, just like so. So you see, there's the D. And you know what? I do need to roll some black clay through the third setting of my pasta machine. Silly me. The third setting because it's the same thickness as the letters. Okay. So now let us fill from here to the edge, like so. And then repeat on this side. Now we make a nice clean cut. And scoot that right up in there. Ta-ta. Okay. Now it's just a simple matter of taking this piece and putting it back where it started. Just like that. You check both sides. And the letter D is finished. Okay, so this is a very simple letter. Just pay attention to where the white back meets the white curve. Okay, so let me just cut some of the excess away. And this is not a final trim. I don't know what the final trim is going to be yet. But certainly the D doesn't have to be quite that big. The letter D. Okay. Pretty simple stuff, right? Okay, just use the appropriate cutters when you make the letters. All right, so let me set this aside and prep for the letter B. All right, so we're ready for the letter B. You can see where the 1 inch mark is from here to there. Now, this is where, you're gonna have to go searching through your various cutters. So I have these cutters, okay? And this time, I think I'm going to cut the back away first. All right. Don't ask me why. I do these things differently. Okay, so, but before I do, I should show you the cutters. So there's one cutter, and there's another. So I'm using 2 different sizes, but I think that that will make a nice B. It doesn't have to be 2 different sizes, but that's what I'm going to do because they fit quite nicely in that 1 inch range. Okay, so as I said, last time I cut the D first, and you can see the back of the D. Well, this time let's do it a little bit differently. So I'm cutting the spine first. That's the back of the B. Set this aside, not to be confused with this mess of black clay. Okay. Now, I'm going to take these little cutters. Once again, I put Repel gel on here so that the cutter doesn't get stuck too badly in the clay. I think it's going to get stuck a little, but it'll help. And let me take just like that and try to push straight down through my clay. Come on, you can do it. all the way down. There we go. I can't get my chubby little fingers in there, so I'm gonna need some help here. Hopefully I won't destroy them too badly. I kind of destroyed it, but you know what? I'm not worried. I'll cut another out of another block. Okay, so let's get the next one. See, I know I don't necessarily have to use exactly the same one I cut, do I? No, I don't. I really don't. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Okay, now I can get my finger in. You know what? Getting my little chubby little finger in there really helps. There's that one. And this guy, help me, I have to cut it again. Because I really did kind of destroy the top. I'm hoping that I can do a better job with another piece. I'm hoping. Okay, so I have this from the other letter I did, so I will use that instead. Now I'm going to get lots of repel gel on here. Okay, dude. Okay, dude. Come on, you can do it. Maybe if I just jiggle it a little, it'll also help. Maybe if I just jam my chubby finger down there in there, that will help too. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. You can. I know you can. I need skinnier fingers. Well, that's not gonna happen. It is what it is. Okay, I got it out. Look, and I did kind of distort the top, but the sides are okay. There we go. And I think I can even kind of stretch them out. Let's get you back to where you were, huh? Because I really did kind of jam the letter. Like that. That's better. Okay, phew, that was hard. Not really, it wasn't that hard. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is actually wrap the big part. Why? Because I feel like it. Not sure there's a really good reason for it. To start with the big part, the lower part of the bee. Okay, now the bee, I'm not going to wrap this top part and then slam them together, because when I make a bee, it's almost like there's an overlap in the middle between the two parts of the bee, right, between those two curves. So what I do is I cut a bit away. I just take my blade and just cut a bit of it away, like that. You see, I cut some away. So when I wrap the smaller one, it will be like that. But it's not going to be two thicknesses of number 3 right there. I will show you. Okay. Let's wrap you, and I'm going to wrap a lot more than I think I need. Not a big deal. What I don't want is I do not want to be in a situation where I don't have enough of you. If you guys know what I mean. Okay, so now these two pieces fit together like so. You see? And so now I basically have one thickness of number 3 plus a little bit. But I think that's better than having this which is so thick between the two lobes. That's what they're called. They're called lobes. Now I'm going to open this up, and I'm just going to fit them in, like so. See? And I'll check both sides. Like that. Now I'm going to lop some of this off. Remember, I just covered way too much. My concern was that I wouldn't have enough. So I'm going to turn this around so I can see it. And just cut that excess off. All the way down like that. Now this time, if I cut from here to here, then these lobes get very small, and I don't want them that small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, just trying to fill in some of the space above and below the bee. Like that. Okay? Maybe that's enough, maybe not. In the case of the lower one, maybe it's too much. I think I need more on this side. So I'm not covering up the back. Actually, you know what? No, I changed my mind. Back. Let's trim it first before we actually put the spine on the back. Okay. I want to trim away first. Okay. So I think you can probably see, let me just trim away right there. And it's still kind of odd shaped, isn't it? So let's do this. You see how this piece is sticking up above the bee? Yeah, I think you do. Well, that's not right. So I am going to just stand it up and try to cut straight down. So I haven't removed the whole thing. I just evened it out with that. You see, now it's even. It wasn't even before. Okay, let me see what the situation on this side is. And it's sticking up just a little bit. So let me stand this side up and just try to shave some of it away. Okay, so I think I did that. All right. And to me, that, you know what, that's looking pretty darn good. It's still a little bit curved, but I think we can take care of that. So let us now put the back on. The back of the bee. Nice fresh cut. Carefully align that corner with the white clay, you see? Just along there. Take this, push that over. Trim at the perfect place, right there. Right there. Cut it across. Here we go again. Oh, good. I didn't leave quite so much. I left a bit. Can I just push that down back into place? Okay, like so. Now I'm going to fill those spaces above. Setting 3. Fill the space. like so. Take the other piece, press it right there against the back. And I didn't have to absolutely straighten it. Remember, it was just slightly curved. This side of the B, I think this side of the B, well, it's really hard to tell. I can't really see what's going on exactly. But let's just loosely trim like so. Okay. So when I use these, actually, I kind of trim them away as I'm using them. In other words, these are not exactly the same shape. All my letters are not exactly the same shape. Stuff gets trimmed as I'm working. Now, what I can do, so adjustments can be made as I'm working. This B is bigger than the D. That is unfortunate, but I think I can make the D taller. So as you're working and creating your letters, you can make adjustments. You know, maybe make this guy a little bit smaller, shorter, just by squashing him down a bit. Now they're closer to the same size. Okay. Okay, so those are the letters B and D. So I think you can see how a letter like P would be much simpler. It's like the D, but the lobe is only halfway like that. But essentially, these letters with lobes or arcs attached to a straight spine back are made that way. Very simple. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial brought to you by the letters B and D. I'm Donna Kato. Goodbye. So I'm just going to draw the A first within the box. You can see there's an A, but there's a problem. If I cut along this line and this line as it stands and I add that thick white around, then I have actually increased the size of the letter itself. I want the apex of the A to stay within the box. That means I have to drop this down, probably to about there, and then drop the line parallel to the original one. And so the line I'm actually cutting is here and here, and that will keep the letter inside of the box. Okay, I think you understand. First, I am going to cut away the top and the bottom. And the first line I'm going to cut is this one, the A. Try to cut straight down. And then I have actually prepared these strips. They are the same thickness as the slab. You can see. Take this off. And now I am just going to place the white right there. Okay, so you can see that I've placed that white far beyond the other cut. Here's where I'm going to cut next for the A. And this is probably way more than I needed, but It's okay. It's just going to be cut away. Now, as I cut here, I'm going to follow the slope of the bottom. So I'm actually making an angled cut. You can see this cut is an extension of that line. All right, so let's cut next. The next one, straight down. I can remove this. And now I will take the white and I have just laid it flat on my work surface. And once again, I'm going to follow that slope and cut. You know, I think it'd be a good idea for me to get a piece of paper to work on. Do I have one handy? Luckily, I have a great big box of these. All right. All right, so now I'm going to follow the slope of this side. And cut the excess away. My white clay is quite soft. And actually, for this purpose, I think it's worked out very well. Okay. Now I'm taking this guy and just smoothing right there. Okay. I don't want that to be jagged. All right, so let's cut the bar. Cut straight down. And we're going to insert the white. But you know, if I insert the white, then it's not going to be, without trimming a bit off of this bottom, it's not going to be an exact fit. Basically, I have to take the width of this and cut it away from the bottom one. All right, so I'm going to do my best. I can't really see it too well, but I'm removing this and I'm replacing it with this. Now, could I just squish it and stretch it to make it fit? You know what? I probably could, but I don't think it would be as precise or as good as removing the excess clay. Just physically, there's more clay than there should be. Now follow again the slope and cut. Okay. Follow the slope and cut. I may have to spray my blade. I don't usually like to do that. I don't like to make the area wet, but I just might have to do it. Now the two sides are different, so make sure that you put them together in the right orientation, and I think this is it. So here I'm just trying to make sure that this line looks like it's continuous, that it isn't off. It makes a tremendous difference. See, you can see how far off these are. Well, that would never do, and I'll show you an example with a bad signature cane I did. and how it can really kind of ruin what you're doing. Okay. Oh, here's the example. I want you to look at this, because you can see that this, the arc of the D, should be continuous right through here. But look at that part of the D. It's sticking out. That's because I did not remove enough of the clay so that when I inserted this part, it was pushed out too far and out of alignment. So you have to be careful with this. You want to make sure that anytime you make a cut and you put it back together, that you put everything together so that they perfectly align. All right. So let us take a look. And you know what? I am going to take this, just a little wet wipe thingy. And I'm just going to dampen my blade. Hopefully that will help. I saw some excess white. I could actually see it. All right, now let's roll. Try to smooth that out. I love my animals, but I find lint everywhere. I'm blaming the animals. Maybe it's me. All right. Now, in handling this, the bottom got a little bit out of whack. See, it's not perfectly straight anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shave off a little bit off the bottom. I'll straighten it out. Okay, now we're going to put it all back together again. So this will go nicely back on this side, like so. But this side is a little problematic. You know, do I do this? If I go down here in proper alignment, because of these lines that I've inserted, of course, I've got that space now. So what I'm going to do instead of that is I'm going to roll some black clay, and I will roll it through the same setting as the liquid, setting 2. I keep seeing an air bubble. Okay, I think that's good. Let me scoop this up. And again, I'm going to cut them 1/2 inch, which is what the white strips were. 1/2 inch. And 1/2 inch. So let's just put this along one side. Do the same thing, follow the curve. or follow the slope, excuse me. Cut, follow the slope, cut. Let's do it on the other side again. Kind of went off kilter on this side. And follow the slope. Now that A looks really good to me. So now I'm going to put everything back together as it was. Hopefully I don't have to, I still have to put some more there. Actually, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut some away here. I'm gonna cut a little more away here. And there we go. That's better, much better. Okay, now here, let's do this and chop this excess away. I'm gonna cut that tip off. I'm gonna cut more away. I have to check both sides. Looks good. And let me cut more of this away. You see what's happening here? See all this space? See those spaces? Well, I'm going to eliminate them by cutting until the pieces are closer together, rather than trying to fill those spaces. Let's cut until, you see, I was able to cut the space away. All right, I'm going to trim the bottom again, like so. Not quite happy with that. So let me cut a bit more, but I really can't cut too much. Okay, now I'm going to take what was originally the bottom and put it back on. Take the original top, put it back on. And now what remains is just to do the final trimming. Okay. So I think I'll trim right here. Let's trim the other side. Cut a bit off. Okay. What I want is I want the same amount of black around the letter in each of these places. So this and this look good. I'm going to try to make the distance from the top of the A through the black be about the same. And then the bottom. Now, if I cut too much, I'm just going to add, I would just take more black and I would put it back in. So if you've cut and you think, oh, I cut too much, I can't, this is wrong, just take more black clay, put it back on there, press it together, and try your trimming again. Okay, so this is actually, I didn't cut this part straight, so let me try to trim away some at the bottom here. And there is the letter A. All right. So next we're going to do B. And I think that it will move slightly faster because you've seen what it's like to make A. So let me prepare for that. All right, continuing with our alphabet today, I'm going to do O and C, Q and G. These letters are quite similar. And then I'm going to break and I'm going to do U and J because you can't have Q without the U. Okay, so these are two slabs that I put together, and they are 7 layers through the thickest setting of the pasta machine thick. And I did sheet them as well as I could, like so. And let us start with the letter O. Now I have a cutter here. It measures 15/16 of an inch across. Here comes Dusty Boy. Dusty, what do you want? Mommy's working. So, O is so easy. Okay, I'm just gonna take some Repel gel and put it right there on the cutter. Put this in the middle and then cut straight through. You know, I think it helps if I just kind of wiggle it like so and maybe turn it as I'm cutting. And I really think that's going to help me get all this clay out of this cutter. What do you think? You think I'm right? Did it go all the way through? I went all the way through. Yay me. All right, so let's lift that up. And let me just push the clay out. And you know what? It is easier. So try that. Try just wiggling it a bit. And I think it's going to be easier to get out. All right, so I'm going to reduce this a little bit. You know what? Ideally, I would reduce this so that this and the wrap equal that hole. That's a goal. It's a goal. Not sure I'm going to make it, but, you know, we're going to try. Gonna try. Let me see. Look, see, there's some play there. So what I'm going to do, trim, wrap, smooth that. I'm not going to do it because I'm just showing you. I'm actually going to pull it out and make a C. And then, if necessary, just kind of stretch the opening a little bit, like so. Then, drop the O in the hole. Okay. Yeah, I think we can do that. Just gonna try to get it in there. And you know, if you're having a hard time with it sticking and stuff, you can just do this. You can do this. Just cut, open it, put the O in, and then just close the clay around it. And you know what? Look, we have an O. We have a 0 or an O, all right? So then it's just a matter of tightening it up and then trimming it away. You never know. Now, how do we make a C? Well, I just dropped my blade. C, let's just say C is like right there. Just gonna try to remove this white clay. Do my best. If I were making a C, I wouldn't have wrapped it all the way around. If I were making a C, well, I would have stopped about right there. Okay. I clean this up a bit. Now there's a C. Now let's take some black clay. This has been rolled through setting number 3 as well. Fill in the space like so, just like that. And now put the C and C right there in the hole. And that looks good. So now I have a C. All right. So I think that's really simple. These are very simple to make this way. Okay, so let's move on to the letter Q. Okay, so what is a Q? A Q, I'm going to use the same circle cutter. Doink. Dusty is right here with me. Okay, so that is a Q circle with just this little piece sticking in, right? All right, so what we're actually going to start to do is I'm just going to cut here. Right there. And pull half away. And now I can see the mark where that white clay should go. It should go like right there. So let's just insert a piece at that point. And it's hard to see because... Okay, so that's where it's going to go. Right there. And right there. You know, the white is very soft, and that is why it's leaving traces of itself behind. Come on, you can move. Good clay. Now let's fill in like so. I'm forever blowing bubbles. Okay, now we're going to put them together again, like so. Like so. Okay. Now I'm going to take the circle cutter and I'm going to do the old Repel Gel thing. Let's put Repel Gel on the circle cutter, just like that. Good deal. All right. Now find where you want to put this, just like that. Okay. Actually, I'm going to move it up just a tad. Ready? Ready, Freddy. And let's cut. I'm going to do that, and I'm even going to twist. See how I'm rocking, and then I take and I twist. Rock and twist. And I think it's going to be a bit easier to get the cutter out. I hope. We'll see, I twisted it. Come on, get out. Good deal. Now, I'm just going to push it out like so. Okay. Good deal. Now, it did get twisted, see that? So, of course, I have to make it straight again. It's not too difficult because I can so clearly see how I twisted it and in what direction, right? So just straighten it out if it gets twisted. But I must tell you, it was quite a bit easier to get the clay out because I had jiggled it, moved it, and done that whole boogie. All right. Okay, now I am going to wrap this whole thing in white. I think I'm going to start right there. I want to know where that is, that part of the queue. So I'll be able to see because I'll know that that's where the seam is. Okay. All right, now it's a matter of matching this up with that. So I am, let's see, I think maybe the easiest way might actually be this. Actually, no, I'm going to do this. Cut straight down, open it up, and I know this is going to be too small. I will stretch it out, but you see, I'm not doing it stretching right in this area. So let's see. Okay, good, 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 good. Now I do have some I have to fill in there, don't I? Yes, indeed, I do. Okay. So let's see if I can just do it using one of these. Now, it could be thicker. Obviously, that is thicker than this thickness. See, there's plenty of play. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to roll it through. Oh, let's see what setting number 2 does. Let's see. It is thicker. I think I'm going to go setting number 1. Make it thicker yet. Take a cut. Push it in and close. Push it in and close. And here, because it's not going to be absolutely perfect, there may be just a tiny little right there at that point. Could be, could be. But that is how I construct a Q. All right, then just like the others I've done, it's a matter of trimming away. Why am I drifting? I'm drifting because I'm sitting too far away from the table. Arg. Okay. There we go. There we go. And that looks like a pretty good Q to me. Look on the other side. Let's see about trimming this side. So I have a nice square. Very good. Okay. I think that looks really good, as a matter of fact. So I will reduce these, both of them, the O and the Q. I have to make another slab for the U and the J, but that I will do, and I will be back. O became a C, and here's the Q. All right, it's time for the U and the J. So I have this nice little oval cutter, and it measures 1 inch. So what I'm going to do is use it. I have to take my poly paste and put it over this guy. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good going. There we go. Okay, now I'm finding the center of the block approximately. And I'm just going to cut straight down. We're making a U. We're making a J. Okay, so I'm just wiggling this all the way down. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Did I hit the bottom? Maybe. Maybe. Let's check. Nope, did not. Push it further. Still haven't hit the bottom. How about that? I could take a tile. I've got a tile here and push against it with the tile. Oops. Well, definitely I cut through. Like that. Yep. Did it. Did it. Let me open this up a tad and push it out. All right. Now I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to do my best and try to work that clay out of the cutter. Da, 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 da. Come on, you can do it. It's kind of stuck in there, but it's coming out, see? Slowly, and unfortunately, I can't push with my thumb. It would be easier if I could just push with my thumb, but I have to push with whatever finger's going to fit in there. Okay, here we go. Just be patient. You'll get it. Doink. Slowly it's coming out. Let me see if I can jiggle it a bit. I think jiggling probably isn't going to hurt it. Oh, finally. Finally, it gave up. Let's see about flattening that. Okay. Okay, that looks pretty good. I was able to sort of straighten it more or less. Okay. Okay, so for a U, all I'm going to do is, well, let's just see. The letter should be 1 inch from top to bottom. I may actually have to square this off. It might be just a little small, actually. Let me see. I hadn't really considered that it would be a bit small. Well, let's see. When I say small, I really mean short. Now what happens there? If I wrap like so. Now how tall are you? Well, 1 inch is at the very top of the black clay and the very bottom of the white. So here I have a little bit of adjusting to do. And I think what I'm going to do, I think actually the easiest way is to cut here. And I'm going to insert some black. To lengthen and elongate the oval. Because the letter is a bit short. Okay. Now here's where careful trimming, well, trimming on the side. Now, let's put you back together again. Actually, I think it was this way. And I want to smooth this area as much as possible. Adding this piece in the middle is actually easier, isn't it? It's just easier than recutting or finding another cutter that's bigger and, you know, all that jazz. It just means that this area right here, I'm going to have to absolutely make sure that everything's blended well, that all the pieces, the ones I inserted, have been blended into the original oval cutout. And that looks good. Okay, so now we're going to wrap again. I'm going to go all the way up there, wrap all the way down here. Like so. Cut. Now let's measure. Now let's measure. I don't know how I look. You know, I just had my ruler. How in the world does one person look? Here, I found it. Okay, so 1 inch from the bottom is about to there. That is 1 inch, just like that. So let's just cut it off. Now there's a U, all right? There's a U. Now, if we're making a J, what are we going to do? Well, of course, we're going to cut this much off. we're going to take a bit of this black, slide it in to fill up the space, and proceed. Now we have a J. Okay. Let's pack the J. I still don't have a U. I'll have to make myself a U later. Okay, so to fill it in, you know what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to cut right there, straight down, and I'm going to cut this straight down. Okay. Now I'm going to take my tool because, you know, I think I cut absolutely straight down. Probably not. So I want to straighten out right here and make sure that I eliminate any little bumps or lumps or whatever. I want this to be nice and smooth and flat, both sides, like so. Okay, and that actually looks pretty darn good. I tore my paper. There. Now, it's just a matter of filling that space. And you know what? This should fill it nicely. I cut it up, but I just turned it over. Do the flat side. Make a nice clean cut. It's easier if I take it out and just do it. And it fits perfectly, see? Just like a puzzle, these puzzle pieces. Don't have to worry about that. And now let's take and fit this around again. There is a J. Ta-da! A J. Let me just quickly square it off. All right, so I already reduced the C. I have to reduce the Q and the J, and then I will be back. Okie dokie. So friends, this is a little insert because I forgot the letter G. See, I was going to do, I don't even know where my list is. Here's my list. O, C, Q, G, U, and J. I did everything but the G. I did. So I'm going to do the G because it's not going to take long. Things were going along so swimmingly, and look, I forgot the G. Okay, so I made my slab. Nice looking slab. I've got my cutter that measures almost 1 inch, which is the same one I used for O and C and Q. Now I have to put some of that Repel gel on it. And I don't really worry about having too much of this on. It's kind of worse if you have too little. Okay, so just spread it around there. And wipe your hands. And let's just center it on our slab like that, okay? Now, as I cut, I am going to do the wiggling, twisting, you know, this action. Because I do believe it's going to help me get it out. There you go. And get the clay out. I think it's going to help me. I hope it's just slipping around. Now, you know, once upon a time, I made a clay pusher for this one, for this little tiny guy. So what basically that was just scrap clay that I baked, that I pushed in, and then I removed, and I just kind of, you know, I sanded it a bit. And it became a clay pusher. And it's around here somewhere. Okay. All right. So now let's take this guy. And you know, I'm going to make him a little bit smaller so that when I wrap the clay around him, it's going to be a little easier to get him to fit in. Because if I take this and I wrap it with the white, I'm going to have to stretch this out a lot to make it fit again. I'm going to have to stretch it out. It's just that maybe I won't have to stretch it out as much. Now, when we make a G, we have this little right there, right? I'm not going to do that part. It's just going to look like a C that comes up a little further with this little arm that goes in, and that's it. All right, so let's just cut that. Let me cut it like, oh, how about right here? Looks good to me. I could be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time. Now I'm going to take my white, and if I'm really, really wrong, then I'll just shoot it again. Okay, so here we go. It's just going to stick into the G. Like so, like that. And now I have to fill that space, don't I? So this is also row through setting 3. It fills the space. Like so. Now let's put the pieces back together. Doink. Like that. Now I'm going to take the white and I'm going to wrap it around. Do I want to wrap it that far? Actually, I'm going to start it right here, right at that edge. See that edge? And wrap it around. And perhaps I should have drawn the G first. I'm living dangerous today. And let me cut right there. Oops. It's a little bit crooked. I'm going to straighten it out. Like so. Living dangerous on a Friday. Today's Friday. G. Now we're just going to fill this space. Boink. Okay, that looks pretty darn good. Pull it out. Kind of bring everything together. So there's the G. Okay, there is the G. Now, it's simply a matter of taking this and stretching it out like so, just to make it a bit larger. I can make it large enough that this will fit in. It's going to be quite a bit thinner though. So if I want to maintain the thickness, then you've seen us do this before, right? Let's say this fits right here. Does that look good? Let me just figure out where the G in the block, and it's not critical because there's plenty of black clay around it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut in the black area so that when I add the excess clay, I won't be pushing black clay up against white. All right, so now we open. And, you know, I'm going to pivot this just a little bit more, like so. All right. And so when I swing this back around, this is what I have to fill. And it will be black clay next to black clay. Turn it around, take a look. Perfect. Okay, so I need to re-roll some of this because I don't have anything that thick. Let's start with setting number 1. Oh, number 0. The thickest. So here we have the thickest. Let's see. Okay, there's 1. And I want it to really just get right up there next to that black clay. Boom, trim. Now what have we got to fill left? You know what? I can just close it that way, like so, see? And here we have the letter G. Here we have the letter G. So let's trim this. But I would really like to trim it. See, it's kind of crooked in the block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ruled ruler, and I'm just going to draw that square around it now. And I've lined up this white line with one of the lines on my ruler, like so. So there's the first line. And let's line the bottom, like so. And now I'm going to make a line that's perpendicular to the first 2 lines, like so. I love this ruler because of these lines on it. Okay. And then following the same strategy, I will indicate the 4th side. So that's it. Okay, so let's cut. And just one more cut, and we have a G. Yay. I almost forgot the G, sorry. Sorry, but I remembered the G. And there we have the letter G. So this will be reduced and it will join its pals C, Q, J, and O and U were actually preliminary kind of, they were part of the demo. The O turned into a C, the U turned into a J, the Q, well, I think it stood by itself, and now we have a G. Let me reduce. I'll be back. Okay, so here is the C, and a greatly reduced C, and the Q, somewhat reduced Q, and a J. Here's a little J. Okay, so let me think about whether I need to do any more letters, or whether what I've done with you so far is enough for you to figure out the rest of the letters. So, there may be more alphabet coming, but I don't know yet. In the meantime, thank you for watching. I hope this clears up some of the confusion about making some of these letters, and I guess that's it for now. Bye. So here we are in this class. We started with O, actually, turned it into a C. Then, I hope I'm recalling correctly. Then we made the Q. Then I forgot to make the G. And I made a U, because you need a U if you got a Q. I turned the U into a J. That's why we have no U. And then, because I completely forgot, I had to shoot an insert of the G. We are coming to the end of our alphabet. I really have to take a look and make sure there isn't anything else I should do. Not sure I should do E and F. Not sure you need to see Z. I'm going to think about that for a little while, and if necessary, I'm going to shoot it for you. So in the meantime, I hope you enjoy making letters. You've got R and N, M and W. You have B and D, and you have S. So these should help fill out your alphabet. So until we meet again, I'm Donna Kato. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. All right, so first of all, I'm going to show you how I mapped it out. Now the letters are 1 inch tall. That's how we've been working. And the letter thickness is through the setting number 3. But you know, E, F, and H, very, very similar in the way they're constructed. So this one, with this one block, I'm going to show you how to do all 3. Now, the first thing I did was I just mapped out the letters. So here is H. Here is E. And here is F. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to make the H. And what I do for that is I cut straight down here, straight down here. That's the first step. Okay, use a nice stiff blade. Just slowly cut straight down. One. Turn it and cut the other side. Straight down. So now this is the center block. Right here, where the cuts are made to insert whatever is appropriate for the letter. So I'm going to set these aside, just pushing them up just in order so I don't mix them up. And I'm going to cut straight down here for the H. Now I will take my white trim and insert it right here. Then stand it up and trim the excess away by cutting straight down on both sides. Just want to make sure Now this might seem a little bit shy here. I think it's going to be all right. And now by putting it back together, there is the middle of the H. Right, there it is, and you want to check both sides. Now it is simply a matter and I'm not going to push them too hard. Putting one here. Filling in these areas with black clay. Remember, we trim and we put it in. And then putting the other side on. Like so. Filling in, I will have the H, and then I put these two sides back on, and I've got a complete letter. Okay, so I think that should be clear. Now let's move on to an F. An F is simply this. Cut here. Put the white clay here. Like so. Make sure that all of this is pretty well trimmed. If it's not, just take your blade and cut away anything that isn't quite right. All right. Just like that. And take your white strip, make a nice fresh cut. Line it up. Like so. Cut straight across. You're going to fill in with this black again. Then you will put the top back on. You will fill in the area again with this black strip. Then you will put this back together. You take this side, you put it together, and you have an F. Now, if you find that the F, these are too long, too wide, then all you have to do is cut them away. Okay? All right, so there's the F. Now moving on to the E. Now I'm going to cut. But you know what? The E, you have to be a little careful. Because remember, we only want this letter to be 1 inch wide. And already it is 1 1/4 inches. All right? So I'm going to make myself a little executive decision here. There is 1 inch. I'm going to cut at the 1 inch. Like so. This was my original line, but I'm not sticking to it because the A will simply be too large. All right, and this seems to be working out just fine. Okay, now I'm going to put the white clay down here. Trim. Trim. Make sure this side is nice and smooth. Now let's put the top back on. I could have waited. I mean, the order of go for this is probably not really critical. Okay, not probably not, it's not. The positioning of this strip on there, however, is. Okay. So maybe in that way it would have been better to wait. Oh, let's just wait. Now put it back on. Not a tragedy if I had done it differently. Isn't that funny? Oh, here, no. What's going on? Put this back on. Check both sides. Now we will take and fill with the black clay, like so. Doesn't hurt to make a fresh cut. Slide this in. Like so. And then this will fit back into position. Like so. And here's where you can make up your mind. You can decide for yourself whether the E is too wide. I find it a bit wide. So I think I will simply cut that much of it away. Okay, now let's put this back into position. And here is my E. Now all I have to do is trim the 4 sides. Okay, so now you saw how an H turned into an F, turned into an E. Let's look at the other side. That's perfectly fine. So let me trim it away. Well, actually, I'll just show you. No, I've been just kind of trimming it away and not paying much attention. But if you're not comfortable with that process, all you have to do is take a ruler and measure. So let's leave a 1/4 inch at the top. Or let's leave a 1/4 inch on all sides. So I'm actually taking the ruler, aligning the bottom edge of the white with the ruler, and at a 1/4 inch, that's where we are. Okay, I will do the same thing here. I'm just taking that 1/4 inch mark, aligning it to the ends of the E, like that. And I will do the same thing on this side. Now, this is not square. I don't think it matters. Okay. For me, it doesn't really much matter. So let me trim the 4 sides, kind of slowly and carefully. La, la, la. La, da, da. Da. Okay, and all my letters are not the same size because, you know, some letters are wide, some letters are very narrow. I mean, look at the letter I. I think you guys can make the letter I, right? Okay, so there is the letter E. All right, so here you see white clay. It's quite soft. It's very fresh. And I have rolled this through setting number 3. This is my black clay. It was a little stiffer, so I took some conditioning bar, ta-ta, and I softened it. It's not as soft as the white, but, you know, it's closer. I wanted it a bit closer. Now, I am just going to cut that much. And from now on in my alphabet, I will be rolling my white letter clay through setting number 3. So I have to make a mental note. Now we're just going to sandwich this, okay? So we got a white clay sandwich between 2 sheets of black clay. I may not use all of this, We'll see. So this is a departure from that thing we were doing with the R and the N, which was to cut into the slab. Well, with these curves, I just think it's easier to build it this way. And we're building it very differently. And that's also why we start with it, because the other letters will be built more conventionally. Okay, so this is the what's going to happen here. Now this is way big. I mean, I would have enough S for like the rest of my life and into my second life. So hello. I know I'm not going to need all of it. I'm going to take this and I'm going to roll this into a nice cylinder, a nice thick snake. Okay. Okay, so I took my clay, rolled it into a long strip, and now I am just going to roll it up. Hello. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. So let's just make it small. I know that I don't want an S kind of this big. I want it smaller. Smaller. So I'm just going to reduce it out, make it thinner. Dun, dun, dun. Doink, doink. And let's see what this looks like. Still strikes me as pretty big. Yeah, you know what? It's it's gonna be a big S. Big S. It doesn't need to be this big. Okay, the larger this is, the thinner this line is, right? So let us see what's cooking now. Not bad. I still have enough S for life. And then back this way. Like that. Aha. All right. That looks pretty good. It is big. Okay, well, let me just cut this. Set the old snaky aside. And there's the mark, like that, right? Okay, well, there is an S. If I continue this way, this S is going to be very, very large. Really big. Big, big, big letter. I'm not sure I want it this big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it apart. And I am going to reduce these snakes. And they stuck, but I could still get them off, I believe. I believe in miracles. Hello. Oh, not going to cooperate? Dang. Sometimes if you just pull really, really slow, you can get it off. But I'm not having success because I softened it so much. I didn't think I softened it that much, but I must have. Now, see, it's coming off easier now. Arg. Okay. Well, that's not good. Like, right. This I can heal up, I believe. I don't like the way that looks. Got an air bubble. So you know what? I'm going to make this a lot smaller. I'm cutting right there. A lot smaller. And, you know, I don't want to reduce it. I don't want to reduce the thickness of this line. I want that line that same thickness. So let's just see if I can do it. There are no guarantees. I have found that out. I haven't made a lot of S's. Okay, so let's see. Ooh, and I got a bad crack on the back. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I have a decision to make. Do I think I can actually heal this? Or is it going to be a huge issue? Am I going to find that I have wasted a lot of clay? Or is it going to be okay? I mean, sometimes it's at this point that you go, oh, I think I'll go get a snack. And you think, maybe I should just start again tomorrow. Personally, I think it's going to be okay because this black sheet was not very thin. It's quite thick. And I've healed it up nicely on the outside, crossing my fingers that it's healed up nicely on the inside. Okay, so let me take this guy. And reduce this. Okay, so you can just imagine if I'm having kind of this much trouble making the S or these many decisions as I make the S, and I'm not even trying to match other letters, how difficult it might be if you were actually trying to match other letters you had made. It gets more difficult. That's why we're starting with the S. Because that matching part, that can get pretty difficult. If you've made like every letter but S and then you're trying to make the S, like, oh no. Then you have a 10-day cane. Okay. All right, so that looks good to me. Now, I have to fill those little spaces in there, of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a larger piece like this. So I want to straighten this out make sure this line is straight and not distorted. Okay. So let's fill that space up. I'm going to move this. I do not want to ruin my RSC cane. And let us cut this in half. Then cut the half in half. Then I'm going to take and slide this guy right in there. Okay. Filling up that space. Oops. Wrong side. Now, let's do the same on this side. Just fill that in so there's no air. Cane looks a little thinner on this side than on this side. How'd I do that? Okay, let's pull that down. Doink a doink a doink a doink. All right. Okay. Now I have to fill that space. Doink a doink. Just tuck it right down in there and push. And let's do the same on this side. All right. Okay, so this is not too bad. Let's see, I see a little there. So it may get worse as I'm going down the cane. It may get worse. So, you know what, I'm going to continue anyway so you guys can see how much worse it gets. There's a lesson in everything, right? And for me, I will make another one properly without the cracks later. Okay, so this sheet has also been rolled through setting 3. And what I'm going to do with this is simply try to square the whole thing off. All right. So I'm just going to start wrapping it. And I always over wrap. I put more clay and then I cut the excess away. Places like that, they really do need to be tightened up. You saw how that was gapping out. In a place like that, I'll just try to push the clay right there in the crevice. In the little crevice. And I just roll, I wrap. So I'll just wrap a couple times and then I'll be back. And then we will trim everything away. Okay, so I've wrapped it all, and I've wrapped it with this thinner sheet because honestly, when you've got an irregular shape like this, it's a little bit easier to tuck the clay into those irregular crevices, those little places, those little spots, than it is if I had rolled with setting number 0 on my atlas. Make sense? Yep. All right, so the center of the cane, the S, excuse me, if I drew a line right through it, is probably right there. See? Can you see that? Now, it's easy to get thrown by the overall shape because it's kind of off this way and it's kind of lopsided, isn't it? So it might help if you first just try to isolate and look at the S alone and then find out where that center line that runs from the top of the S to the bottom. That might make it easier when it gets to the point where you want to cut a square around the S, right? Like so. Now I'm looking to cut something that's parallel with the center line here. And then it's got to be parallel to the center line on the other side of the S. All right, so you can see that I kind of lightly indicated where the 4 sides of the S are. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. Now, it's a little more difficult because, letters kind of get, well, all of our canes, when we make them, they kind of get torqued a little. They're not absolutely the same from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom. So I'm just going to do my best with this side like so. Now I'm cutting it perpendicular to the center line. This cut is perpendicular. Now I will make a line that's parallel. Make a mark that's parallel to that center, like so. Parallel to the center again on the other side of the S. Okay. Now, in other instances, I've made drop lines. And maybe it's a good idea to go ahead and make a drop line. Now, what is a drop line? It's when you see where this line runs off of the cane, the side of the cane? I'm going to find that very spot right there, and I'm going to connect it to the opposite line, which is like right here, right there. So these two get connected like that. You see that line? Now, they don't look perfectly. Well, it looks like the cut is going off to the side, doesn't it? I think that's that same torquing kind of thing that happens with the cane and the image. So what that means is this image has moved a little bit like that way. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so let's find the other. And then where the other drop line is, which is right here, like so. So this appears also to be off. They're both sort of angled in the same direction. Okay, now I'm going to use these drop lines and I'm going to follow them as I cut down. Now, Sandra McCaw is the cane artist who kind of taught everybody this, and it's basically walking the cane through the clay, following those drop lines. Well, I don't know if she uses drop lines. She must use drop lines. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just going side to side. I'm looking on one side, right side, cut a little bit. Look on the left, cut. Look on the right, cut. Look on the left, cut. Right, cut. Left, right. And take your time. My blade is good. Stuck. Come on. Come on, blade. You can do it. Maybe I made the black clay too soft. Yeah, who knows? All right, so that's the first cut. And this I will fill. See how it's kind of not filled? All right, so let's make the next cut. I will go to the other side. Find out where that line falls off to the side. Then I will take this, indicate where the same thing is happening on the other side, and then connect them like that. Repeat on the other side. Here it is, boink. And here is the corresponding line on the other side. Connect them, and those are my two cut lines. All right, I'm gonna do some walking again. Walk. See, I didn't quite follow the line because my blade was sticking. Funny, 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 funny. Okay, so let's do the same thing on this side. This is the line I indicated here. And, you know, it's looking a little crooked to me. It's looking quite crooked, actually. So I'm going to make the adjustment there. This one as well. And I think some of that might be the cutting. You know, when you cut with a blade, the clay moves, so it's pulling the clay in a particular direction. Now, these lines look great. It's just these lines that aren't looking so fantastic. So let's connect. Actually, I want to lower this line a bit. It seems too close to the letter. Okay, so there's one mark. And here is the other. Let's walk. Okay. That's not too bad. All right. Now let's do the same thing on this side. Doink. Doink. Connect the two. Turn it over. Is that you? Okay. All right. Okay. Down we go again. Doink. All right, so there's the S, the upside down S, the backwards S. You can see it's smaller on one side than the other, but that may be a function of my decision of where to cut on this side, right? Because I didn't measure or anything. I just said, okay, this looks good. And off I went. Now, how big a problem is this going to be? I had better put a little bit of clay there, which is easy enough to do. Just going to take a little sheet here and press it right down in there. And I may have to trim it. That'll be okay. Okay, here we go. But it was important that I fill that space. All right, so let's try just cutting away and leaving the clay in the space. I'm just trying to cut the clay to the right and left of that space. Sometimes that's just shaving a bit here or there. Now, I don't think this little dip is going to be much of a problem, but we must do the same thing on this side. And I did roll this clay, so let's just try to fill it in. Actually, maybe I'll just use this little piece. It doesn't even have to be a whole piece. It just has to go in and fill that space. Yeah, that's better. Don't use a whole sheet, just a whole piece. Just take a little strip, and then it should be quite a bit easier to cut the excess away. Like so. Let's see. I got little goobies here. What the heck? Where did you come from? Gooby. Little gooby. Okay, so what do we know? We know that our letters, the letter has been rolled through setting 3. I will make a notation of that because every letter after this will be rolled through setting 3. The second thing we have to know is we have to know the height of the letter, not of the block, of the letter. Because when we build the letters after this, they have to be the same height. So the letter is, oh my God, just a little bit shy of an inch. So indicate that too. But you know what's a good idea? This. Well, first of all, they're different sizes, aren't they? They are different sizes. Well, let's measure this side. The letter on this side is 1 1/16 of an inch. Okay, so I would say 1 inch. I would say 1 inch. This side was just a tad shy of an inch. This side, 1 1/16. I think if you just make all your letters 1 inch tall, you're going to be plenty close enough. If they're all rolled through, if all your white clay or your letter clay is rolled through setting 3, then they're all going to be the same scale. Okay? But it is helpful. May be helpful. I'm just trying to clean up the sides here. To just take a slice and bake it. Okay? Just bake it and keep it. That's kind of your control for the rest of the letters you make. All right, so let me reduce this out and let's see what happened in here, okay? So I will be back. The clay's nice and soft, so this will not take long. I will just mush it around in my hands. Take my acrylic rod and do a little bit of this action. Stretch it out, and then I will show you what we have because we're going to start cutting it apart. All right, so I reduced it out a bit. Let's take a cut from the center. We just want to see how badly the letter was affected by that crumble, the crack, and the black clay. And I see that it was some, but it's not really bad. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Not sure this is the best S that's ever been made. Not sure about that. So let's take a look. And what is wrong with this S? Well, it looks a little, I don't know, having trouble looking at this. Ha ha ha. I think maybe this end could have come up just a bit like that. Just a bit. Let me look at my other S. Okay, I'm going to reduce this further. Let's see what it looks like even smaller. All right, so I reduced it. Let's take a look at what it looks like when it's reduced. I think this is fine. This is a fine S. Okay, so that is really the hardest curvy letter. So I know that in building the rest of the alphabet, my line thickness will be setting number 3. The total height of each letter should be 1 inch. And if I do that, then I will have letters that are the same scale as the S I've made. Okay? Had to start with the most difficult one and move to the simplest. All right, so I hope this has made sense to you, and you can now go forward and make your curvy S. I will be doing more letters shortly. You know, letters like O, Q, G, C, even D. They're very, very much the same. So that will be the next letter class. Until then, I'm Donna Kato. Bye. Hello, Donna Kato here. Welcome to my channel. So glad you came. Now today what we're going to be doing is something that is pretty simple, can be very simple, and can be very useful and fun to do. And that is to make words, cane words in clay. Now here I have a couple examples. This is Zoe, my little border collie. She's not here anymore. Docky, he was a sweet boy. Ozzy, he's not here anymore. Ditto's still with us. Ditto, Black Kitty. Dulce is also not with us. I've never had a rabbit, but I made a rabbit cane, and then I made Bun because I thought it might be cute. And then Mochi, this was my mother's dog who we took after she passed on. And she was an American Eskimo dog. She was a pistol, but her name was Mochi. Now here are some of the canes. Bun, Doc, Mochi. I guess I'm going to have to make some more canes. CBE, this was for Clay Back East. I had made some canes, and I put a little slice on each one of them. Blue, there you go. So now the simplest way to make word canes is to treat each letter as a separate entity, like Zoe, Z-O-E. It gets a little more, or Mochi, it gets more difficult when you have something like my signature cane, which is here. And you can see that the K is actually on top of the D. And so that creates a little bit of a spacing problem, or it can. So here is the bigger version. This is one end. It's not perfect, but I wanted to show you what happened on the other side so that you can see the trouble you can get into when you're trying to do something like inserting a letter over another. You can see right here, here's the curve and the D, but you can see it's off right here. It is not aligned properly. And that is because I did not remove enough of the clay in order to be able to insert it, so that where the lines crossed, they should have come together much better than they did. So it just creates another set of problems. It's not an impossibility, certainly, but something you have to be aware of. Now, all letters are not created equal. For instance, an I or an L, much easier to make than an S. Okay? An O is fine because, you know, you'll use a circle cutter. But anyway, most letters are not that difficult. Now, one of the reasons I'm making this is because my dear friend Ray asked me to make her a signature cane for her work, and I am more than happy to do it. And it's also an opportunity to actually do this as a tutorial for you, so you can see how easy it is. Now, what I have here is the background color, which is going to be black. And in terms of the shape, it's rather like a block of clay, just a little bit smaller. It's the same thickness, but it's just a bit smaller. The dimensions are smaller, but it's very close. Now, once I make this cane for her, she'll have RN for life. Seriously, she'll have it for life, because by the time you make it and you reduce it down to a size like this, well, you don't have to make many of these canes in your life. You can trust me on that. So now the letters themselves are going to be white. So I've rolled my white clay through setting number 4, and I've cut strips that are the same thickness or very close to the same thickness of the slab. So you can see. And I just did that so that I don't have to stop and do it as I'm working. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is split these because, well, first of all, let me show you what the design is. Now, Ray's work tends to be rather, you know, she had an ethnic kind of feel to it. So I thought, rather than making an R that has the traditional round top, I angled it off like this. So her R is much more angular than perhaps in some other instances, but I thought that it was kind of consistent, more consistent with her work and with what she likes to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is this part of the R. So I'm going to separate, oh, hello. So what I did was I drew, and here's the N, like so. And this, the little leg of the R actually meets the upright of the N, all right? And this line here and that line there, well, those are just the boundaries of the letters. The letters will not go all the way to the edge, okay? So I think that's clear. So now let's cut along the spine of the N. Cut straight down. I'm going to set that aside. And now we will cut here. Okay. And I'm going to cut this. Just place that there. Now I'm going to take the white and I'm going to place it, oh, a little narrow, that's okay. And I think I want this to be sharp, so I'm just not going to wrap it around the edge. but like so. Now you can see that I did take this and I let that white clay go further beyond. This is the back of the R right here. Okay. All right. So at this point, what I need to do on this side, well, actually, yeah, right in through here, is I am going to insert just a little piece of black. And it's also enrolled through the same setting. To take up that space. Okay. And then let's do the same thing up here. All right. Now I'm just going to put this back like so. All right. I can even put this top on too. And what I'm trying to do is align this line with the original line. All right. Now, actually, I made a little mistake. Sorry. I've got to put this in, don't I? So I'm just going to cut and try to cut straight down. And then insert the white. Make sure that that's good. And now I'll put it in. I mean, making my signature cane is kind of like, I could almost do it in my sleep, but I've never done rays before. So now let's put it back together. Okay. And what I need is to fill that space in, don't I? So I'm going to make an angled cut, put one sheet of black, and I think I'm going to need a second sheet. It's not a problem. Let me do a second sheet, like so. Fill it in. And if there's too much clay here, I'm not going to push it in. I will just take my blade and cut what I think is the excess. And that way, when I put the N in, the back of the N here, it will be nice and straight. It won't be lumpy. Okay, I just want to make sure it's nice and straight. Okay, so what I'm going to do is cut here. Get rid of this little piece of white. This is like a puzzle. And I am going to need all these little pieces I'm cutting off when I put it back together. So try to remember which pieces you are putting where. There's a little bit of white there. I'll try to get rid of that. Now I'm going to cut the back of the R. Let me put this. Going to cut a little more because I could see that this wasn't quite the same thickness. All right, so let's just do it. Now I will align that all the way down. Cut it off. Now I have the R. Now this piece, I'm going to get rid of that white. And actually, it might just be easier if I just cut it off like so. If it's too deep, I can just roll more black clay. And put that back right there. So there is Ray's R. Now let me just smooth this. Because as I said, I want this line to be nice and straight. I don't want it to be Am I going to be happy with that? Let me cut a little bit off. That's better. Okay, so there's the R. Now I'm going to take the white. I'm going to align it with the top and the bottom. Make a nice clean cut. Like so. Then I'm going to put it back together again. Now, as I'm working, you can see that the letters have become taller, and that's because of where these two, the back and the top of the R, meet. That is above the original line. Now, I don't really care about that too much. I think that it's really fine. But what it now means is, in this case, I should probably redraw the lines. Now, I'm going to leave that right there because where it overlaps, I think that's going to be fine. But now, the bottom, well, let's just trim it off later. Okay, so now I'm going to cut from that corner straight down. Let's try to cut it straight down. Then place it like so. And here I have a choice as well. Do I want it to be the same width as I started? Yeah, you know what? I do. So I have a bit of a problem because I need more clay here. but I think it might be easier if I simply fill in the hole along the entire side. Okay, and then align this like so. And now I can cut along here. And that I'm going to do, and I'm just going to trim away the excess later. So let's take the white, put the white on, trim it away. All right, so there's the R and the N. I'm gonna trim that away, and let's just put this back together. I'm gonna turn it around so I have the nice flat side like that. All right, now I have to trim the excess. Like so. And then from this side, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, good deal. Now let's trim the side. That's too much black. We don't need all that black clay. And now I will put black on these two sides and do a final trim. I think I can probably trim a little bit more away, and then I will reduce it for her. Okay, so I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so what I did was I rolled a sheet of black clay through the thickest setting of my pasta machine, and then I cut 2 strips. I put 1 strip on top and 1 strip on the bottom. Then I took my blade and I trimmed neatly all around. And I think I'm going to leave it like this. I'm not going to add more black clay around the perimeter. But at this point, you know, if you wanted to put a thin white and then a thin black, you could do things like that as well. But this is just going to be a very plain signature cane, kind of like mine, except without the overlapping letters. So let's reduce this. And I have to tell you, the person that I learned how to do this from was a woman in Colorado by the name of Eileen Loring, Loring, and she is unfortunately not with us anymore. She was just a wonderful lady who loved clay and was just a wealth of information. And she was very good at figuring out very simple ways of doing things and then explaining those simple ways so that others could do them as well. Yeah, it's been a while. She's been gone, but she's kind of a Colorado legend, I think. And she was very sweet. All right. Well, the clay's nice and noodly. It's moving. So let me see. It's kind of hanging back in there. Well, it's going to. I mean, this is far from the ideal shape you want to make canes and reduce. You know, the face of the cane was very large compared to the thickness of the clay. So that can be. It creates challenges for us. Okay, so let me work on it. You guys have seen me reduce in other tutorials, so I don't think you need to watch me, but I'll be back when this is reduced. All right, so I reduced the cane and I reduced it down to this size, and I'm not going to reduce this piece any further. I'm just going to send it to Ray and she can reduce it as she needs to. I did, however, reduce 2 pieces because it's a little easier for me to do it right now, so she can work off of this piece and this piece, and then when she needs to reduce the other one, she can. I also made her one with a rounded RN. And this, you see these? This is enough signature cane for probably her lifetime. So I will carefully pack this and send it to her. So now you've seen how simple making letters and clay can be. And it can be quite simple depending on the letter, depending on the specific design. For instance, this is a more difficult design. Already talked about that. And it requires that you do more careful trimming than I did here. That's why the D is broken. But if you start simple and work your way up to the more complex, I think you'll find and you'll figure out the best ways to work. So I'm actually going to do a very simple M, very much like Ray's N, okay? So let me take, I'll just do it this way. So I'm going to leave a border around like so. And the simplest M is just like so, where the actual M is this, and the middle is just that V that is cut out. So that's what this design is going to be. I'm going to erase this and erase this. Now what's the W going to be? It's going to be this. You got an M, you got a W, and they'll go side by side. All right, so let me prepare the rest and I will be back. All right, so I have rolled my white clay through setting number 2. Now, remember when I made Ray's, I had rolled that white clay through setting number 4, but I was creating both the R and the N. Now, in this case, I'm going to make an M that is going to also turn into a W. And that's why I'm making this a little thicker, because if I roll it through 4 and then I reduce it down, the line may get much thinner. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to take a nice straight cut here. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is just cut diagonally like this. And then I will cut diagonally the other way, corner to corner, corner to corner. All right. Now, I'm just going to move this over. I do not like sticky clay. My clay got a little bit stickier than I like. And I did have to add more of the conditioner to this because I wanted it to match. Dang. All right, so first I'm going to just position this. I think I'll go over a little. It doesn't hurt because I'm going to trim it. It's a little bit thin, but that's okay too. Boom. Then let's put it on the other side. I really did make it too thin though. Dang. Okay, so that's... So let's put this back together, like so. And this is one of those processes that, you know, just kind of grows. Now, if I do want this absolutely at that point, though, there, you can do it just like that. Then on this side, because the cane overall does not have to be any specific size, these canes get reduced down. I kind of lost my lines, but I don't think it's critical. Okay, there we go, because I have enough over here. All right, now, now here I can cut this first, or I can cut the sides first. I think I'm going to go here first. Why? I don't know. It's making sense to me today. And this will all get separated. See, this is why I like clay that's not sticky. Even though this is stickier than normal, I can still take things apart, which is what I want. I want to be able to take things apart. Okay, so do I want this line outside? Nope. So you see right here, this line right there, the line that separates the black from the white, that's where I'm going to cut. Okay, and I'm going to cut straight, as straight as I can down like that. Eliminate the white. Then I'm going to repeat on the other side. Straight down, like so. Pull the white off, keep the black. Okay, you got to check both sides too, kids. Might not meet exactly, but you got to check both sides. Okay, I'm going to take this strip. Maybe it's a little wider. What do you think? Now this will go here. Nope, I managed to cut them all too narrow. Don't know what I was thinking. Okay, so here we go. And this is not a very stylized letter. You can add curly cues and all kinds of stuff if you wanted. My letters tend to be very simple. Okay, so there's M. Now let's cut. And I'm going to wait. I'm going to put this back on because you got to rebuild the letter. You have to put the clay back along the sides. You can always trim later, which you're going to have to do. Okay, now let's trim the bottom. And take your time when you do this. I talk about this all the time. It's not a race, right? We live in a world where everything happens so fast, and that's not always best. So just take your time and enjoy the process. working slower can have dividends for you in terms of the quality of your work. And paying attention to details can really pay off in the end. It's quite easy to get caught up in the need for speed. You know, in our daily lives, we have to move so fast sometimes. That's not always the best way, is it? Okay, so here are some of the ends that I chopped away. So let's just take advantage of those. I'm going to just stick that back there. Let's take this one, put it here, like so. And now I will cut my border around again. All right, so there's the M that will also be a W. Now, of course, I could have designed it so that the uprights are angled like that, but I decided I would make it kind of simple today. Now, I'm going to shave some of this off the top. You know, my white clay was too narrow. So I'm just going to lop some off. I should have done a better job measuring, but I just kind of eyeballed it. Okay, I'm not going to cut any more. I know some people are probably very nervous the way I was cutting, but you know, if you cut, first of all, if you anchor your pieces against your work surface, you can do quite a bit of cutting. Just like that, right? And if you cut slow, and slightly arc your blade as you cut, you will find that you can do this quite easily. But it is important that this clay slab is pretty much anchored against your work surface, as mine is. All right, so now I'm going to reduce. Da, 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 da. I think I'm going to cut a little bit more away. I think I want the letters a little closer together. Just remember, this is going to be used twice. Going to flip it over. So whatever this black is here, it's going to be twice that. Okay, so let's do it. And as I'm doing this, I'm actually kind of pushing down here at the base, pressing the sides, but sort of pushing down at the base. And I think that that helps because it's sort of, I'm pushing the face of the cane down here, down to my work surface. Now, this was a side that was clearly, I had too much black clay because I had cut my strips too narrow. Dang. So don't do that. Don't cut your strips too narrow as I did. Gradually like this, you see, just little bits. This would have been so much better if I had just cut the strips, the white strips, wide enough. I'm a dummy. I'm a dummy. The good news is I can make this black again. Yay me. Okay, so there's the M. Now I'm not going to cut the other side because you know what? I'm going to reduce these separately. I'm going to reduce it long and then I'm going to put them together. Because you remember what happened with the, you remember what happened here, right? Okay, so let me work on that and I will be back. Okay, so I'm still reducing and this clay is moving out really nicely. Nice and soft. So when it gets to this point, you do a lot of twisting and then very slow pulling. Not too fast. Let the clay stretch out with you. But yeah, this is the good side. This is the good times in reduction. Okay, so just slowly. You can even bring it back together, kind of bring it in and out. Flip it to the other side. Every now and then you can stroke the sides. Were I to do this again, I wouldn't have trimmed off this because, you know, it makes kind of a nice handle to grip on the ends. So I'm just stretching now, just pulling both ends slowly and gently apart. And the clay is responding nicely. Any areas that are too thick, you just want to address those. You'll see them, and then you will just simply address them. Okay, I think we're almost there. But I really don't want to get into a position where this has to be reduced later. Or if so, it will only be reduced just a bit, not very much. Okay, so I will stop here. Let's cut the ends off. Find the good part. Oh, that wasn't I didn't have to cut much off there. Actually, I cut too much. I didn't take my own advice. Now here's where I just have to chop until I find the end. I'm getting there slowly. Dang, all of this could have been good. But I made a boo-boo. I made a boo-boo. Boo-boo. And you know what? Okay, it was really a dumb one. But you see, I do these things for you guys. All right, so here, oh, one side's a little bit larger than the other. That's okay. Let me try to reduce one side, one end, make them match more closely. Pretty good, pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good. Okay, I'm going to measure and cut in half. Because here's another way you can really waste a lot if you don't measure. Okay, so that is 12 inches right there, 12, 16, 18. Looks to be about 20, so I'm going to cut from this side. Okay, so if it's 20 inches, of course, all I need are 10. That doesn't look right. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18. From the end, let's just do 9. Oops. Oopsie. Approximately. Now let's bring them together. Here's the thing. These two, the M and the W, will be the most alike at this specific point. Why? Because I cut the cane in half and then flipped it up. So these are absolutely as close to identical as any cane slices will be. These will be the most different because they're at opposite ends. Okay. So when you're doing kaleidoscoping, that kind of thing, that's a helpful thing to remember. Now, these are not bad at all. So this is the end where they're the most different. This is the end where they are the most alike. Okay. Now, you're going to work your way down and just make sure that they're joined nicely that way. Now, to reduce this, because they're nice and it's nice and warm at this point, I will continue the stretching. And at this point, it's mostly lightly stroking the sides, pulling and stretching out to reduce. And I really want to get this done now because the clay will never be as easy to reduce as it is at this moment. It only gets harder as the cane sits. Now, of course, because you're reducing, or I'm reducing this so small at this point, I'm going to have a place to store it where it's not going to get ruined. I will show you the way I store mine. See, I've just got all my little canes in here. And these are very old, so they're kind of dry, but there they are. Okay. And I've learned to keep that little box kind of handy because I'm making so many things these days. Okay, I'm going to cut it in the middle. Let's see what we have. Well, it's a WM, but it's an MW too. Okay, so that is this little tutorial. Michael, you wrote to me in the comments, if you tell me your address, I will ship you an M and a W. All right, so thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something that's useful to you. And until we meet again, I'm Donna Kato. Bye. Okay, peeps, I hope you enjoyed the class. I hope you have a better understanding of how to build your own alphabet in clay. Now, what can you do with it? Peace. I like that one. More peace. I like peace. Hope, hope. You know, yellow is a color associated with hope. And I even got a love in here. You guys would know that love is associated with the color red. Love. There we go. Love. So anyway, yeah, you can see I like peace a lot. I think peace is associated with the color blue. All right, so whatever the case, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys make lots of letters. I hope this has been useful for you. If for no other reason, then maybe you can make your own signature cane. Yeah, that's kind of how the whole thing started. Okay, kids, so thanks for watching. Till we meet again, I'm Donna Kato, signing off.